Tenant in Reno, Nevada tried to scam the Section 8 system and ended up getting caught and evicted 4 days before Christmas. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News.
Amelia was told that she'd overpaid and was due a credit, and in the discussions that followed, things went south.
Everything changed. The demeanor of the people at the office, they were like not talking to me, like avoiding me.
Suddenly, their status as students was brought up. Amelia and her son are being evicted because it's believed both are full-time students.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas. And I wanted to wish everyone out there who's watching my videos Merry Christmas here on December 25th. And I brought you a good Christmas story from the world of landlord news. So there's a tenant out in Reno, Nevada, and basically this tenant was scamming the Section 8 system and claiming that they needed this financial assistance. And guess what? They didn't really need it. And the end result is that the tenant ended up getting evicted just 4 days before Christmas. The horrors, right? Well, you played your game, you tried to cheat the system, and now you have to face the consequences. And the landlord, they were in the right, because if Section 8 is not paying us, then we have no obligation to let you stay in the property, okay? We need to get paid our rent. And you didn't comply with the rules of the program, they cut you from the program, and now you have to find somewhere else to live. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? So do you think that the landlord should have evicted this poor tenant just 4 days before Christmas? Or do you think the landlord had every right to do so and needed to get that person out of the property as quickly as possible, regardless of what was coming up? Okay, that's what I believe. But, I'm the landlord, and people, they need to understand that, hey, we're operating a business here. And if I let you stay a few extra days, that could end up costing me a lot more money. Okay, so you've got to go. You screwed up, and now you're sitting here trying to garner sympathy with this article. I'm gonna rip this article apart because it just shows you that people aren't using common sense, and that they aren't reading between the lines. So let's get into it. This article is coming from colotv.com, and it says, disabled woman evicted 4 days from Christmas for being a student. Now, keep in mind what they just said right there. They said, she was evicted for being a student. No, she was not evicted for being a student. She was evicted for violating the terms of the Section 8 rules. Okay, so let's get into the article because they actually go into, a little bit better detail in it. Amelia Olvera has a dream. Born in Mexico, a longtime legal resident of the U.S., she's raised a family here, and now, at 59, she's pursuing an education, expecting to gain a degree in criminal justice and psychology from TMCC in May. I want to be somebody. I want to go to school. There's a lot of opportunity here in the United States. At the moment, she's dealing with a more urgent issue. She's homeless. 5 days ago, she and her son received a 5-day eviction notice from her landlord, Ridgeview by Vintage Apartments, and their owner, FPI Management. Now, I might be on the minority, when I say this, but, so many people, they think, if I go and get this education, that's what's going to lead me to having a better job. And that is not always the case. In a lot of cases, actually, people are taking on a ton of student loan debt and for jobs that they could have gotten without that education. Now, I'm speaking specifically about this lady here because it said that she studied criminal justice, right? Now, I work in law enforcement, okay? Those degrees are basically, worthless, okay? They're not worth anything. Now, if you're just applying for a job where any general degree will work, then, yeah, I understand that. But when you're talking about, I want to get into criminal justice and psychology, like my sister studied psychology, and you have to have above just a regular bachelor's level education in order to do most of the things in the psychology field. At least that's what she told me, right? So, it doesn't look hopeful that this lady at 59 is going to suddenly get all of her, everything right in her life, right? But the whole thing about her going to school is the issue of why she lost her Section 8 voucher. So let's continue. They've been living here for 5 years at this North Reno complex under a federal housing choice voucher, commonly known as Section 8. The program offers housing to the disadvantaged in exchange for tax breaks for the owners, and its rules bar students from taking advantage of it, leaving it for those who need it most. And there's the problem. They are both students at TMCC. So yeah, the rules within the Section 8 program say that, hey, if you're a student, you cannot take advantage of it because they don't think that people who are students are in the most need. Okay, the people who are struggling, working full time in order to pay their bills are the ones who need Section 8 the most. So yeah, I mean it makes sense why they say that, right? But if she wasn't aware of these rules, then she screwed up still, because it's on her. It's her responsibility to know the rules that she has to abide by. And like, to me, when they say up here, oh, she's a disabled woman, right? And I'm just like, okay, well, to me, when you say, oh, this is a disabled woman, they're probably implying that she's on disability. Okay, so this might be the case of somebody who's on Section 8 who doesn't even have a full-time job, so they're not actually paying a portion of the rent with the proceed income from an actual job. So she was like, okay, she doesn't actually have a job, so she's like, okay, well, I don't have a job, so I'm just going to start going to school. Well, if you are going to school, then you don't qualify for Section 8 according to their rules. So you had and my thought is, you knew this. You knew all of this, okay? You violated the terms. You thought you'd be able to get away with it, and you got caught. And simply put, because you got caught, you lost your voucher, you lost the housing that you were staying in. And now you're homeless, and you're up here begging in this newspaper article, None of this seemed to raise any issues until recently. They were paying their rent on time, and apparently there was no issue at all about their status until there was a dispute over money. Amelia was told she's overpaid and was due a credit. In the discussions that followed, things went south. Everything changed. The demeanor of the people in the office, they were not talking to me, avoiding me, and suddenly their status as students was brought up. Amelia and her son are being evicted because it's believed both are full-time students. One more than allowed. They dispute this, in fact, so does the school. So, it doesn't matter what the lady, of course she's going to say, oh, no, I'm not a full-time student. Don't evict me. So, to me, that she's like, well, I'm paying my rent on time. I'm like, well, I'm sure that she has to pay some portion of the rent, right? But, there's no mention here of her actually having a job. So, basically all of the funds that are being provided to this landlord are coming from the government in one fashion or another, be it from the Section 8 program or be it from the money she's making from disability. So, to me, this seems like, she's just taking huge advantage of all of these social welfare programs. She might even have been going to school for free on top of that. I mean, you never know. I mean, it seems to me that the people who use the social welfare programs the most, they seem to be up in all the, I'm getting food stamps, I'm getting, Section 8 housing, I got Medicaid, I got disability, I got this, that, I got free student, I don't have to pay student for the cost to go to school, and they get all this stuff, right? And anytime you threaten any of those things from them, they're, I'm disabled, I can't work, like, yeah, whatever. So I don't feel sympathy for this tenant. She should have known the rules. She screwed up, and now they're getting evicted 4 days before Christmas. So, as a landlord, would you evict somebody right before Christmas? Now, honestly, honest truth, right? I don't sympathize with this tenant, but if at all possible, I would have said, hey, maybe we could wait a few days. Okay? That's the honest truth. Because, I know that this is bad. You've got to go, but, I'm still a person. I still, feel bad about some things. And I would have gave the lady just a few more days and said, hey, December 26th, then, you and your son have to get out of here. And, I mean, it is what it is, right? So I know that a lot of, I'm not going to question the judgment, but I'm a small landlord, okay? I don't run a huge number of properties, and I can take, a small loss. Now, if holding the tenant in the property means that I have to hold them in there for a whole other month, then I probably would have still gotten rid of them, right before Christmas. But if it means just, an extra 5 days, that wouldn't have made any difference to me. And, they would have been able to stay in there at least for Christmas, and then I would have got rid of them right afterwards.